Welcome to Frank's Self-Love and Self-Empowerment channel. Today I would like to talk about why loving yourself is self-empowering. When you love yourself and when you have cultivated self-love for a long time, or when you just had the lucky circumstances of just having been born with a feeling of self-love and having been born in a family that has been supporting you and feeling loved and appreciated, then you will feel most likely very positive about yourself. And as you love yourself and as you cultivate self-love, that feeling of positivity that you have for yourself keeps increasing. And people who love themselves, they have a very positive self-image. They have positive feelings about themselves, and generally they have a very positive outlook on life in general. And when you love yourself, you have not only a positive self-image, but the overall feeling that you have for yourself is a feeling of self-appreciation, of self-worth, of high self-esteem, and of self-confidence. And so loving yourself, feeling loved from within, gives you that sense of, I can do whatever I want. I can achieve my goals. I can go for what I really want in my life. So when you love yourself, you simply feel good about yourself. You feel good the way you are. You feel good about who you are as a human being inside yourself and in the world. When you love yourself, you also believe that you deserve to have the best life has to offer. You simply feel good. You feel good about who you are. You feel good about who you are as a human being. And you feel good about life. And therefore, you also believe that you deserve to have the best. And since you also feel good about yourself, you also give your best. You do your best in order to achieve the best, in order to get what you really long for in your life. So what's very important to remember and to realize is that if you love yourself, if you feel good about yourself, then you also feel and believe that you can really have the best that life has to offer. You not only believe that you deserve the best life has to offer, but you also believe that you have what it takes in order to create the best life has to offer. So you will not just remain in a passive state, but you will also do whatever it takes in order to create and get from life what you really desire, what you long for, and what you believe that you deserve, and that's in alignment with your inner heart, with your truth, and with your vision for life. And the person who has a lot of self-love, who feels good inside oneself, also really enjoys interacting with others. And such a person also believes that others very much enjoy his or her presence because they feel good about themselves. They think, I'm a very lovable, wonderful, beautiful person, and so others also enjoy being with me. So that's another reason why people who have high self-esteem, high self-worth, who love themselves, usually also very much enjoy interacting with other people because they don't have issues about not being liked or not being loved. They love themselves, they feel good about themselves, and so they're not preoccupied with themselves while relating, but they're really interested in the other person, and they really want to know who the other person is, and they're interested to give their best in order to have a pleasant, enjoyable, and positive exchange. If you love yourself, you also feel that other people are positive people. Yeah, cut that. People who love themselves also are not so quickly dismayed when they are faced with challenges in life, when they hit obstacles, because overall they have a very positive outlook on themselves, on who they are, on the world, and therefore, even if things don't always go according to their liking, they will not give up. They will just say, okay, let's see how I can deal with the situation in a positive, constructive way so that I can make the best out of that situation. People who love themselves are not so critical with themselves. If they make mistakes, they say, oh, I made a mistake. It's okay. What can I learn from the situation? What is it that I was not paying attention to that I made this mistake? So rather than beating themselves up, making themselves wrong for days or weeks or months or even worse for years, they just look at the situation and say, okay, what can I learn from it? What is it that I need to integrate in my life in order not to repeat the mistake or in order to create a positive result in the future? And as you love yourself, you also believe that you are a good human being, and therefore you also believe that other human beings at the core of their heart are good people. And rather than being too upset when somebody doesn't treat you the right way, you don't question your self-worth. You just think, oh, this person had a lot of stress, this person must be afraid about something, and that's probably why they're treating me in another very respectful way, or that's why they're upset, or that's why they're moody. So rather than questioning yourself for the negative interaction with another person, you simply try to understand that the other person most likely is out of balance, is stressed, had some difficult situation which he or her has a hard time to deal with. The more you love yourself, the more you also believe in your innate talents, into your innate capacities and abilities. So whenever you're faced with a challenge, rather than giving up or questioning your self-worth or your self-confidence, you just look at the situation and you ask yourself, okay, what do I need in order to overcome that challenge? What do I need to do in order to create a positive outcome? People who love themselves, they don't become bitter. Even in the face of very painful or tragic situations, like the loss of a loved one. Yes, even if you love yourself, you will cry, you will grieve the loss, and you will go through hard pain, maybe times of intense loneliness. But as you love yourself, you will not stay there. You will not go into victimhood, but you will just move through the emotions. You will allow yourself to go through the grief, and you will process whatever emotions are there. Because the more self-love you have for yourself, the more you're relating to yourself in a conscious and loving way. You welcome your emotions. You welcome your feelings. Even if it's pain or intense grief or sadness or fear, you just relate to it in a conscious and loving way. And in this environment of self-acceptance, these feelings, these in quotes heavy or what we sometimes call negative feelings, begin to transform and eventually to harmonize. And people who love themselves, they know how to relate to themselves in a conscious and loving way. And people who love themselves, they don't keep going with negative habits. Once they become aware of it, that some negative pattern has been going on, negative thinking has been going on, negative self-talk has been going on, they simply stop. And then they start using a more positive approach of relating to themselves. For example, by using positive affirmations. For example, by talking positively about themselves. And so a big part of becoming ever more loving with yourself is really to begin to apply positive self-love practices so that you can feel ever more at peace with yourself and who you are. So it's very important to understand, for most people, this feeling of love for yourself, this feeling of being at peace, of being happy inside yourself, is not something that you're just born with. Some people are. Some people grow up in an environment which is really very positive, very loving, and so they really assimilate this love, this appreciation, and let it become part of their self-image. But for many people, if not the majority, this feeling of self-love, this feeling of self-appreciation, these habits of relating to oneself in a positive way is not something that they are born with. It's actually something that they have started to integrate in their own lives. So in other words, for you and me and most people that you will ever interact with, loving yourself, loving oneself is really a process. And for most people, it's a lifelong process where we cultivate a loving, positive attitude towards ourselves. And that's why these self-love practices are so important. And that's why it's so important to every day cultivate self-love, to every day relate to yourself in a conscious, loving, and positive way. Especially in moments when you feel down, in moments when you feel challenged, in moments when you are off-center. Because these self-love practices, and especially applying these self-love practices, is what helps us to feel more centered, to feel more empowered, and to feel more positive from within. Because as you relate to yourself in a conscious and loving way, you feel good in yourself. You feel, everything is good. I'm okay the way I am. And that's really the foundation of what people feel who love themselves. And that's why it's so much easier for these people to relate to others, to go for what it is that they love, what's important in their lives. And that's also why they feel they deserve to have the good life has to offer. And that's why they also ask for the best or for what they really want in life, because they feel worthy. They feel good enough. They feel they deserve to have, to live, to create, and to do what they really long for. So I hope you really enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you again. Take good care. Bye bye.